You're all going to love it. Now, I want to take a minute and talk about the SEC and the Big Ten in the playoff talk and where this debate currently stands after Big Ten Media Days. As Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, a former TV guy, wouldn't you imagine a TV guy would be good at delivering a message? A TV guy. He said a few things that I want to hit on that I didn't get to on yesterday's show. Now, I got some pushback from Big Ten homers, which is not uncommon on my channel to have Big Ten homers give me some pushback because they know I'm not. And for some reason that bothers them. I don't know why. We share what we love in common, right? And that's the love for the Buckeyes. We share that in common. I don't need to share love for the Big Ten with you. They're not loyal to me. I'm not loyal to them. But I got some pushback anyway. Now, there is no denying that the Big Ten Conference is better than ever, and Tony Petitti is currently the commissioner. Therefore, do we give him mad props for that? Well, Kevin Warren brought in USC and UCLA. Tony Petitti brought in the other two. It was just the obvious next step. He's been on top or in charge with this massive Fox deal, so he deserves some credit for that, but it was in motion before his appointment. But if you're a fan of a Big Ten team, what Tony has done has seized power with the SEC of college football, and he's essentially made it so we all know in the Big Ten that we're going to be good no matter where the college of football goes. No matter where things go with it, we're not in the ACC or the Big 12 who have allowed themselves to slowly lose power in members, and we don't have to worry about our future. Of course, if you're an Ohio State fan, you never had to anyway, but you get what I'm saying. However, when compared to Greg Sankey, Tony hides in a closet. The SEC and their mouths and their propaganda have absolutely dominated the conversation. At SEC Media Days, Greg Sankey put out their message and gave 25 interviews. Tony Petitti at Big Ten Media Days gave his address at the big podium, and that was it. I want to read you an opening line from an article I saw yesterday. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti emerged from his hiding hole on Tuesday to defend his college football playoff format. That's how the people in the national media view this guy. Before Petitti went on the Joel Klatt show, you remember that spot he did, he was totally ignoring requests from the media about his playoff proposal. This is a commissioner of the Big Ten. The media is trying to get a hold of him to let them know, to ask questions about his playoff proposal, and he wasn't even returning their requests. That's the guy representing the conference. That blows my mind. He has a TV mindset and only a TV mindset. He's consistently bringing up pro leagues, and I'll give you an example. Steve Hellwagon of Bucknuts asked him this question the other day. I want you to listen to his response to Steve Hellwagon, and Steve brings up the debate that my issue with the 4-4-2-2-1-3 and the play-in games, the one issue I have with it is if you look back at last year, you had 11-1 Indiana, and they would have taken on 8-4 Iowa in that play-in game as the 3 versus the 6. And when they walk onto that field that day, Indiana's 11-1 body of work means nothing. They are now on equal footing with Iowa, meaning the winner advances, the loser goes home. Potentially to get an at-large bid, but you get the point. It seriously diminishes that body of work. And this is what Petitti has to say to that question that Hellwagon asked.
I guess the trade-off is those teams worked so hard to establish themselves after 12 or 13 games as top 10 teams. Why should they have to play Illinois or Iowa, just as examples, who had more league losses? I don't sense a clamor for a 4-loss team in a playoff. And doesn't that create a situation for the playoff, which we saw blowouts in the playoff last year, for more blowouts in the playoff, which drive down the ratings and make it less lucrative, perhaps, to put a team that doesn't deserve to be in the playoff?
About that. If you're 6-3 in the Big Ten, I would argue that's a great record. And if you stumbled in a non-conference game, I don't know why that disqualifies you. 8-4 is a winning percentage. If you project that winning percentage in every other sport, I'm pretty sure you make the postseason. whether it's hockey, basketball, anywhere else, like that type of winning record. So we've conditioned ourselves to think that if you're not a 1 or 2 loss team, you're not worthy of competing. There are plenty of teams in professional sports who qualify for the playoffs who can't get past the first round game. That's okay. They still get to play. Like, we'll figure it out on the field rather than sitting in a room.
Tony, front row on your right.
Kenneth Berry, touchdown.
That last part right there is where I got a serious problem with this idiot. This is a guy who doesn't even know college football. 8-4, he's comparing it to another sport. He's saying that's a good record. Sure, it is a good record in any other sport. Do they play in the NFL 3 CFL teams on their schedule? Well, no. But we do in college football. We play 3 cream puffs, hopefully 2, sometimes 3, which means if you played 3 cream puffs, your record isn't 8-4. Your record's 5-4. That's your record. That's the other reason I hate these cream puff games, man. Because that 8-4 record is deceptive as hell from someone who doesn't know college football, which is clearly the Big Ten commissioner. Let's be honest. This guy isn't a football fan. He doesn't know college football at all. He's just a baseball guy. He's a pencil pushing nerd. Now, that pissed me off. And I do not like that part of his plan. I do not like the play-in part. For that reason, that's why it's got to be the 4-4-2-2-3 and not the 4-4-2-2-1, because you do need that catch-all, in my opinion. But more so for out-of-conference games than that. But because of that, I'm willing to look over it. Now, this is the best part of that entire press conference. Stu Mandel, if you guys have been around a little while, you know this is my least favorite journalist in all of college football. Cincinnati Stu Ball, little Stewie. He's a Cincinnati guy who hates Ohio State. And Cincinnati Stu has been on a rampage about this playoff model over on The Athletic. Now, Stu wanted to check Tony Petitti. I want you to listen to the tone of his voice. I want you to listen to this right here. This is just hysterical.
Stuart Mandel from The Athletic. Tony, when talking about CFP format, obviously you have a lot of constituents, coaches, ADs, and so on. The public, the fans, have indicated overwhelmingly they do not want a system where certain conferences get more bids than others. At what point, how much emphasis, if at all, do what the public want come into decisions like this?
Well, first, I'll take issue with the way you're phrasing that. I don't really know. I'm not aware of massive studies with real research that have demonstrated that.
It's not a scientific poll, but a poll I put on Twitter this morning. It was 76% for 5+11, 24% for the plan you guys want.
Look,
this dude literally just came at him and said, fans overwhelmingly don't want this. It was a Twitter poll I did this morning. Dude. What a dweeb, man. What a self-important dweeb. I cannot stand that guy. Now, to be honest, it is a little disappointing that Tony doesn't have a rebuttal, that Tony and his crew have not gauged fan interest at all. You would think that that would be something that would at least interest them, right? Maybe it's not going to affect their decision. We know their decision's all going to be about money, but don't you think it would interest them? And the part about it that really irritates me is they didn't even educate people. They didn't stump for it. I have stumped for the plan of the 4-4-2-2-1-3. Josh Pate has stumped for the 4-4-2-2-1-1. Same with Joel Klatt. Like, I've heard more people that care about college football stumping for that as the superior plan for those of us who love college football than the actual commissioner who's pushing it or his office. They're hiding from the media. That is soft leadership. Soft leadership from Tony Petitti, man. But he does make a pretty comical point. He says a month ago, there was a college football playoff meeting on Zoom, and they're sitting here watching mathematicians break down ways to make the selection process easier. So Tony, he says, I'm sitting here watching this thing, and I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute. They're doing all this, and this is the rational way, but playing games to get in is the irrational way? And of course, he's right. It does sound crazy when you put it like that. And that's why he's so dug in on the 4-4-2-2-3. And the Big Ten coaches appear to want it as well, at least the ones we heard from. And the SEC wants to stick with the 5-11. But they don't just want to stick with the 5-11. And here's where they irritate me. What they want is a new selection committee criteria by where they judge strength of schedule and strength of record. This, of course, will favor their teams, as they know. Their strength of schedule metrics are always way higher than everybody else's. Tony Petitti said he's not interested in changing that. Guess who is? The ACC and the Big 12 support the SEC. The ACC and the Big 12 are so dumb. Their strength of schedule record and metrics are always way below the Big 10 and the SEC, but they support this. These guys are wrong at every turn. What strength of schedule metric do we think the SEC is looking for? I'm going to guess they want a metric that you can run back simulations on 2024 and Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, one of them gets in. And if that happens, okay, that's the one we want. So we're at an impasse here. The Big Ten says, no, we don't want that. The SEC, like I said, wants to have their cake and eat it too. They don't want to compromise. They want to have a 5-11, but they want the format they want. And of course, they're using the 9th game as a bargaining chip. They're using the 9th game as the bargaining chip because their commissioner wants the 9th game. A lot of their ADs want the 9th game. Is it enough for Greg Sankey to add the 9th game if Petitti just caves and says, we'll do the 5-11, but we're not going to put that strength of schedule metric in there? Is that enough? Or will Sankey say no? I don't know yet, but we need these guys to add that stupid 9th game. And I don't fault them for not adding the 9th game until now. I don't at all. I don't call them soft for not adding the 9th game. The Big Ten is the one that changed from 8 games to 9 games. Less than a decade ago. This isn't some like 30-year thing. They did it less than 10 years ago because they wanted more money. And the SEC and the ACC said, yeah, we're not going to be doing that. And the Big Ten said, we're doing it anyway. Meaning what? I hear all the Big Ten fans talk about how disadvantaged the Big Ten is because they play 9 games and take 9 more losses. Guess who did that? Well, the Big Ten leadership did that to their own member institutions in the name of making more money. The SEC didn't do that to the Big Ten. But things are coming to a head now. Things are different now. And for the good of the sport, the SEC has to add this stupid game. And like I said, most of their athletic directors now want it. But Tony Sankey doesn't want to give away anything for free. So what is the deal going to be? Big Ten teams are currently canceling out of conference games and scheduling them with the likes of Kennesaw State. And if these guys don't add that 9th game, we're going to see more and more of that. If they do, we get to see the Big Ten SEC Challenge. If we see the Big Ten SEC Challenge, we're going to see a ton more great football, and we're going to get a bunch of crossover games between the Big Ten and the SEC so we can more accurately gauge how good these teams really are, no matter what format the postseason is. I can't wait for that. Now, they have till the end of December, the end of November, to decide on the playoff format in 2026. And if they don't make a decision, if they don't come to an agreement, we just roll in next year to the same 12-team format, which I don't think anybody's going to be irritated with, or you. I'm not. I'm good with it. I wouldn't mind if it stayed like that. But what I really want to hear is this damn 9th game. The 9th game preserves out a conference, puts things on an even playing field,